The quantum detection array on Europa Station 7 hummed quietly in the perpetual twilight of Jupiter's magnetic shadow. Dr. Elena Santos stood before the curved window of her observation deck, watching ice crystals dance across the frozen surface below. After 3 years on this remote outpost, she had grown accustomed to the silence, but something about today felt different. The quantum readings had been showing anomalies for weeks, subtle distortions that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. The station's AI chirped softly, breaking her reverie. "Dr. Santos, I've detected another quantum variance. Pattern match, 98% similar to previous occurrences." Elena turned from the window, her dark eyes fixing on the holographic display that sprang to life before her. The quantum signatures twisted and writhed like living things, forming patterns she'd never seen in her 15 years of quantum physics research. "Show me the temporal overlay," she commanded, her fingers dancing through the air to manipulate the display. The data streams merge, forming a complex tapestry of information. Most physicists would see chaos, but Elena saw something else: intention. These weren't random quantum fluctuations. They were organized, structured, almost like a language, she whispered, the realization hitting her with such force that she had to grip her desk for support. "Maya, run a linguistic analysis on the quantum pattern structure. Compare it to all known forms of information encoding." The AI processed for several minutes, an unusually long time for its quantum processors. Analysis complete. The patterns show characteristics consistent with encoded information, but using principles that violate our current understanding of quantum mechanics. The information appears to be propagating backwards through time while simultaneously moving forward. Elena's heart raced. In all of human history, no one had ever detected anything like this. She opened a comm channel to her research partner, Dr. James Chen, currently working in the lower labs. "James, I need you in the observation deck now." When James arrived, slightly out of breath from running through the station's curved corridors, Elena was already deep in calculations. She barely looked up as he entered, her augmented reality display filling the air around her with cascading equations. "Look at this," she said, throwing a portion of her display onto the main screen. "These patterns, they're not natural quantum fluctuations. They're messages." James adjusted his glasses, a habit he maintained despite having perfect synthetic vision. "Messages? From who?" "There's nothing out here but ice and radiation." "Not from our space," Elena said, her voice quiet but intense. "These signals are piercing through from somewhere else. Another dimension, maybe. And they're getting stronger." Over the next 72 hours, Elena and James worked without rest, fueled by stimulants and the burning excitement of discovery. They brought in quantum linguistics specialists from Earth via quantum entanglement channels and slowly, painfully, began to decode the impossible messages. The first breakthrough came during hour 67. Elena was half asleep, staring at a particularly complex pattern sequence when something clicked in her mind. "Maya," she called out, suddenly fully alert. "Run a 4-dimensional Fourier transform on the signal, but apply human brainwave patterns as a filter." "Processing." The AI responded. "Complete." Signal clarity increased by 700%. The message that emerged sent chills down Elena's spine. It was simple, elegant, and terrifying. "If you can read this, you are our last hope. Our universe is dying. We have sent this message across infinite dimensions, but only your species can perceive it. Please respond." James leaned back in his chair, running his hands through his disheveled hair. "This is impossible. We're barely a Type 1 civilization. There have to be millions of more advanced species out there. Why us?" Elena stared at the message, her mind racing through possibilities. "Maybe that's exactly why," she said slowly. "We're young, unformed. Our brains haven't been shaped by advanced technology or centuries of rigid scientific thought. We still see possibilities where others might see only walls." The quantum array chirped again, signaling another incoming message. This one was longer, more detailed. It described a civilization trapped in a universe that was experiencing entropy decay at an accelerated rate. They had mastered technology beyond human comprehension, but they couldn't save themselves. Their science, advanced as it was, had become a prison of assumptions and established theories. Alina's hands trembled as she read the final lines of the message. Your species possesses something unique, a neural structure that can perceive and interact with quantum states in ways we thought impossible. You exist in a sweet spot of development, advanced enough to understand us, but not so advanced that you've lost your ability to see beyond conventional physics. Will you help us? The implications were staggering. Humanity, long thought to be a cosmic backwater civilization, might be the only species capable of saving an advanced civilization from extinction. But as Alina began composing a response, a thought struck her with terrible clarity. Helping them would require understanding how to manipulate the quantum fabric of space-time itself. One mistake could unravel their own universe. She looked at James, seeing the same mix of terror and excitement in his eyes that she felt in her heart. We need to contact Earth, she said finally. The whole human race needs to make this decision. As she initiated the quantum entanglement communication sequence to Earth Command, Alina felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Humanity had just been thrust onto a cosmic stage they never knew existed, and their response would echo across dimensions. The signal continued to pulse in the background, a silent reminder that somewhere, in another reality, an entire civilization waited to see if humans would prove to be as special as they hoped. The United Nations emergency session in Geneva erupted into chaos as Alina finished presenting her findings. The quantum recordings from Europa Station 7 played in the background, their eerie patterns shifting across massive holographic displays. Representatives from every nation spoke over each other, their voices a cacophony of fear, excitement, and disbelief. You're asking us to risk our entire reality to save beings we've never even seen. The Chinese ambassador's voice cut through the noise. This is madness. We have no proof they are what they claim to be. Alina stood at the podium, her fingers gripping its edges until her knuckles turned white. 3 weeks had passed since the first contact, and the messages had grown increasingly desperate. With respect, Ambassador, we've verified their quantum signatures through every possible means. They're real, and they're running out of time. Dr. James Chen stepped forward, pulling up new data streams on the holographic display. Our latest analysis shows something extraordinary, he said, his usual quiet demeanor strengthened by conviction. The neural patterns required to perceive these signals, they're uniquely human. We've tested the signal against every known species on Earth. Only human brains can process and interpret these quantum frequencies. The hall fell silent as James displayed brain scan comparisons. Our minds exist in a perfect quantum state between order and chaos. We're organized enough to achieve consciousness, but chaotic enough to perceive quantum possibilities that shouldn't exist. It's not just luck that we received their message. We're the only ones who could. From the back of the hall, Dr. Sarah Patel, head of the Global Quantum Research Initiative, stood up. I can confirm these findings, she announced, her voice carrying authority earned through decades of groundbreaking research. But there's something else we discovered yesterday. Helping them will require more than just establishing communication. We'll need to create a quantum bridge between our universes and the energy requirements. She paused, visibly struggling with the implications. The process would drain significant quantum stability from our own universe. The room erupted again. Alina watched as humanity's representatives grappled with an impossible choice. Their universe would survive without intervention. They weren't being asked to trade their existence for another's. But helping would weaken the quantum fabric of their reality, potentially accelerating their own universe's heat death by millions of years. The Secretary General called for order, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. We face a decision unprecedented in human history. The consequences of either choice will echo through eternity. As the debate raged on, Elena's quantum pad chimed with an incoming message from Europa Station. The beings from the parallel universe had sent something new, not words this time, but pure sensory information. With trembling fingers, she authorized the download into her neural interface. Images and emotions flooded her consciousness. She saw their world, crystalline cities that defied physics, beings of pure energy and thought who had transcended physical form millennia ago. But underneath their advancement, she felt their fear, their desperation, and something else that struck her to her core. Hope. Hope in humanity. Elena stood again, waiting for the chamber to quiet. "They've shown me their world," she said softly, but her words carried to every corner of the hall. "They've also shown me why they chose us. Throughout their history, they've watched countless civilizations rise and fall across multiple dimensions. Most advanced species follow predictable patterns. They either destroy themselves or become so rigid in their advancement that they lose the ability to imagine beyond their own rules of reality." She gestured to the quantum display, where their messages continued to pulse. "But humans, we're different. We dream impossible dreams and then make them real. We look at the insurmountable and see a challenge, not a barrier. They didn't choose us because we're the only ones who can perceive their signal. They chose us because we're the only ones crazy enough to try helping them despite the risks." Dr. Patel's team had been running simulations throughout the debate. She stood again, projecting new data. "We've confirmed that creating a quantum bridge would accelerate our universe's entropy. But we've also discovered something remarkable. The process of building this bridge would teach us more about quantum mechanics than we might have learned in 1,000,000 years of normal development. We might lose some cosmic lifespan, but we gain understanding that could help us transcend current physical limitations entirely." The Brazilian representative spoke up, her voice thoughtful. "So we're not just choosing between helping and not helping. We're choosing what kind of species we want to be. Do we play it safe, or do we reach beyond our grasp and possibly change everything we know about reality itself?" As the day wore on, more data poured in from research stations worldwide. The quantum signals had begun affecting Earth's own quantum field, creating subtle distortions that only humans could perceive. Some reported strange dreams, flashes of insight into problems that had seemed unsolvable. It was as if the mere presence of the parallel universe was awakening something dormant in human consciousness. Finally, after 26 hours of continuous debate, the Secretary General called for a vote. Elena held her breath as the results appeared on the main display. The decision wasn't just about whether to help. It would define humanity's first real step onto the cosmic stage. The results appeared. 89% in favor, 11% against. Humanity had chosen to reach into the impossible. As Elena prepared to return to Europa Station to begin the next phase, she received one final message from the parallel universe. The translation was simple but carried the weight of destiny. "We knew you would help, not because you had to, but because that's who you are. Your species doesn't just imagine the impossible, you make it real. Now let us show you what that truly means." The Quantum Bridge Research Facility in Antarctica stood like a chrome lotus against the endless white landscape. 6 months had passed since humanity's decision to help the parallel universe, and the price of that choice was already becoming clear. Dr. Elena Santos watched through reinforced windows as rescue teams combed through the wreckage of Test Chamber 3, their specialized suits glowing against the quantum distortion field that had consumed half the building. "That's the third failed attempt this month," James said quietly, standing beside her. His face reflected in the glass, lined with exhaustion and worry. "We lost some of our best minds in there." Elena nodded, her throat tight. The attempt to create a stable quantum bridge had resulted in a localized reality collapse. 12 scientists had simply ceased to exist, leaving behind nothing but quantum echoes, ghostly afterimages that showed them solving equations that had never been written. "They knew the risks," Elena replied, turning away from the window. The main research hall buzzed with activity, despite the recent loss. Humanity had thrown its full weight behind the project, with scientists from every nation working together in unprecedented cooperation. "Show me the new data from the parallel universe." The holographic display sprang to life, showing the latest quantum transmissions. The beams they were trying to help had been sending increasingly detailed technical specifications, but implementing them proved challenging. Their science operated on principles that seemed to defy the very laws of reality as humans understood them. Dr. Sarah Patel approached, her quantum tablet displaying new simulations. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," she said, her eyes bright with the fever of discovery. "We've been trying to force their physics to work in our universe. But what if we let our understanding of reality evolve instead?" Elena leaned forward, studying the new calculations. Human scientists had been attempting to build the quantum bridge using conventional physics modified by the parallel universe's advanced principles. But Sarah's team had taken a different approach. They were using human consciousness itself as part of the equation. "The neural quantum resonance patterns," Elena breathed, seeing the possibility. "We're not just receivers of their signal. Our minds are natural quantum processors." The discovery sparked a new direction in research. Teams worldwide began studying the unique properties of human consciousness that allowed them to perceive and interact with quantum phenomena. They found that human creativity, the ability to imagine possibilities beyond current reality, actually created minute quantum fluctuations in the fabric of space-time. But progress came at a cost. As they pushed the boundaries of quantum physics, reality itself seemed to grow less stable around their research sites. Workers reported seeing shadows of possible futures, echoes of choices not taken. Some dreamed of equations that couldn't exist in our universe, waking with nosebleeds and new insights into quantum mechanics. The parallel universe watched their efforts with growing fascination. Their messages began to show something beyond their initial desperate plea for help. They were learning from humanity's attempts, seeing possibilities they had never considered in their millions of years of advancement. "Your species continues to surprise us," one message read. "You fail, yet you persist. You lose lives, yet more volunteers step forward. You face the impossible with what you call hope, a concept we had forgotten until we found you." 3 months later, at a research facility in the Atacama Desert, humanity had its first breakthrough. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, a quantum neurologist, successfully created a stable quantum field that mimicked the properties of human consciousness on a massive scale. For 7 minutes, they maintained a bubble of reality that operated under the laws of the parallel universe. The experiment ended in disaster when the field collapsed, taking the entire facility into a quantum void space. But in those 7 minutes, they had proven it was possible. Humanity could bridge the gap between universes. They just had to survive long enough to perfect the process. Elena stood before the United Nations again, but this time her presentation was different. "We've lost 43 researchers," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of those losses. "Each death has taught us something new. Each failure has brought us closer to success. But more importantly, we've discovered something about ourselves." She displayed the latest data from their quantum consciousness studies. Human beings aren't just capable of understanding the impossible. We can reshape reality through sheer force of will. Our minds exist in a quantum state that allows us to imagine beyond the boundaries of our universe. And in doing so, we actually create new possibilities. The evidence was undeniable. Human research into quantum physics had advanced more in the past 9 months than in all previous history combined. They were learning to see reality not as a fixed set of laws, but as a canvas of possibilities waiting to be reshaped. A new message arrived from the parallel universe during her presentation. "We believed we were asking you to save us, but we now understand that this connection is transforming both our civilizations. You are teaching us to see beyond our own limitations, to remember what it means to dream impossible dreams. Perhaps this is why you were chosen, not just to build a bridge between universes, but to show us how to break free from the prison of our own advancement." As Elena read the message aloud, she felt a shift in the room's atmosphere. The losses they had suffered were tragic, But they had ignited something profound in humanity's collective consciousness. They were no longer just reaching for the impossible. They were redefining what was possible. In research facilities around the world, teams prepared for the next phase of experiments. Each failure brought new understanding. Each loss fueled greater determination. Humanity had embarked on a journey that would either end in triumph or catastrophe. But they would not stop until they had exhausted every possibility, explored every quantum pathway between realities. The parallel universe continued to watch, learning from humanity's relentless drive to achieve the impossible. They had sought help from humanity out of desperation, but they were discovering something far more valuable. A reminder of what it meant to face the unknown with courage, creativity, and an unshakable belief in the power of possibility. The meditation chamber in Europa Station 7 hummed with quantum resonance fields as Dr. Elena Santos sat cross-legged in its center. Neural monitors covered her skull, recording every fluctuation in her brainwave patterns. After 18 months of catastrophic failures and devastating losses, they had discovered something extraordinary. Human consciousness didn't just perceive quantum signals, it generated them. Dr. Maya Rodriguez's voice came softly through the chamber speakers. Your quantum coherence is holding steady, Elena. Try reaching for that space between thoughts again. Maya had survived the Atacama disaster by seconds, pulling herself out of the quantum void through sheer force of will. That experience had led to their current breakthrough. Elena closed her eyes, letting her mind drift into the strange space they'd discovered. A state of consciousness that existed between normal human awareness and pure quantum potential. In this state, she could feel the parallel universe like a whisper against her thoughts. The beams they were trying to save had a name for this state: the resonance. In all their millions of years of advancement, they had never achieved it naturally. Their technology could simulate it, but human minds did it instinctively, especially in moments of extreme creativity or emotional connection. Connection strength at 40%, Maya reported, excitement creeping into her professional tone. That's a new record. What are you experiencing? Elena's response came slowly, her words forming through the quantum interface they'd developed. I can see, feel, their world. The entropy cascade is accelerating. They're losing whole sectors of their universe to quantum decay. But there's something else. She paused, struggling to translate what she was perceiving into words. They're changing. Our attempts to help them, our failures and persistence, it's awakening something they thought they'd lost. The quantum monitors spiked as a direct transmission came through, stronger than any they'd received before. The beings of the parallel universe have been watching humanity's efforts with growing fascination. They had expected humans to either give up after the first disasters or to approach the problem with rigid scientific methodology. Instead, humanity had done something unprecedented. They had adapted their own consciousness to bridge the gap. Your species continues to defy our models. The transmission read, you've achieved in months what we couldn't in eons. We believed technology was the answer, but you've shown us that consciousness itself is the key. Your ability to empathize, to imagine, to feel. These are not weaknesses as we once thought, but fundamental forces of reality itself. James Chen's voice cut through Elena's meditation. Elena, you need to see this. She opened her eyes, letting the quantum connection fade. The holographic displays surrounding the meditation chamber showed something remarkable. During her connection attempt, quantum coherence patterns had appeared simultaneously in research stations across the solar system. It's not just you, James explained, his fingers dancing through data streams. Every human being involved in the project is showing increased quantum sensitivity. We're evolving, adapting to handle these new perceptions. And look at this. He pulled up brain scans from the general population. It's spreading. Humanity as a whole is developing the ability to perceive quantum states we never knew existed. Dr. Sarah Patel burst into the chamber, her usually composed demeanor shattered by excitement. The Chinese team just achieved stable quantum tunneling. They used a group meditation protocol. 30 scientists focusing their consciousness together. They managed to transfer a quantum particle between universes. The news spread rapidly through the scientific community. Human consciousness, particularly when focused through emotional connections and shared purpose, could create stable bridges between realities. The very qualities that made humans primitive by the parallel universe's standards, their emotions, their imagination, their ability to form deep bonds, were exactly what made this impossible feat possible. Teams worldwide began developing new protocols that combined advanced technology with human consciousness. They discovered that certain emotional states, empathy, wonder, determination, created quantum resonance patterns that could stabilize dimensional bridges. The parallel universe's beings watched in amazement as humanity turned what they had considered evolutionary weaknesses into universe-spanning strengths. Elena stood before a global conference, presenting their latest findings. "We've been approaching this challenge backward," she explained. "We thought we needed to advance our technology to match theirs. Instead, we needed to embrace what makes us uniquely human. Our consciousness exists in a perfect quantum state, complex enough to generate coherent patterns, but chaotic enough to imagine beyond conventional reality." The evidence was undeniable. Human brains could naturally achieve quantum states that the parallel universe's most advanced computers could only simulate. When humans worked together, focused on a common goal, their combined consciousness created quantum fields powerful enough to bridge dimensional barriers. But the most profound discovery came from an unexpected source. During a routine connection attempt, Elena perceived something that changed everything. "They're not just teaching us their science," she reported, her voice trembling with the implications. "They're learning to feel again. Our efforts to help them, our willingness to sacrifice for strangers across dimensional barriers, it's reawakening emotional capacities they thought they'd evolved beyond." The parallel universe confirmed this observation in their next transmission. "We sought your help to save our physical reality, but you've given us something far more precious. You've shown us that consciousness itself is a fundamental force of the multiverse. Your capacity for emotion, for connection, for seeing possibilities beyond logical limits, these are not primitive traits to be overcome. They are the key to transcending the barriers between realities." As humanity prepared for their final attempt to save the parallel universe, they had already achieved something remarkable. They had proven that consciousness, emotion, and human connection were not evolutionary accidents or weaknesses to be overcome. They were essential forces of reality itself, capable of bridging not just the gaps between dimensions, but between different ways of being. The beings of the parallel universe, who had reached out in desperate hope to a primitive species, found themselves learning from humanity's example. They began to rediscover their own capacity for emotion, for imagination, for seeing beyond the limitations of pure logic. In trying to save them, humanity had given them something they didn't know they had lost: the ability to dream impossible dreams and make them real. 2 years after the first quantum signal reached Europa Station 7, humanity prepared for their final attempt to save a universe. The combined consciousness of 10,000 volunteers pulsed through quantum resonance chambers built in strategic locations across Earth and its colonies. Each participant had trained for months to achieve the necessary quantum coherent state, learning to direct their consciousness across dimensional barriers. Dr. Elena Santos stood in the central control chamber of the new Quantum Nexus facility, built in the heart of Antarctica. Holographic displays showed the status of every resonance chamber worldwide, each one a point of light in a web of human consciousness. Dr. Maya Rodriguez and James Chen worked beside her, monitoring the quantum field harmonics that rippled through reality itself. "All stations report ready," Sarah Patel announced from her position at the Global Coordination Hub. "Quantum coherence at 97% and holding. We've never achieved this level of stability before." The parallel universe's messages had grown increasingly urgent. Their reality was unraveling faster than predicted, entire galaxies falling into quantum void spaces. But their final transmission carried something beyond desperation, a profound understanding of what humanity had shown them. You've taught us that consciousness itself is the fundamental force of reality. The message read. Your species, so young in cosmic terms, understood something we had forgotten in our rush toward perfect logic. The universe is not merely a set of equations to be solved, but a symphony of consciousness to be experienced. Whatever happens next, know that you've changed how every advanced civilization will view consciousness, emotion, and connection. Elena took a deep breath, her mind already reaching for that strange space between thoughts where realities merge. Begin final sequence. All chambers initiate quantum resonance in 3, 2, 1. 10,000 human minds focused as one, their consciousness amplified by technology, but powered by something more fundamental: the uniquely human ability to imagine beyond possible limits. The quantum field they generated was unlike anything ever recorded in either universe. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as humanity attempted the impossible. Through her quantum connection, Elena felt the moment the bridge began to form. It wasn't just a tunnel between universes, it was a fundamental restructuring of reality itself, powered by the combined will of thousands of human minds working in perfect harmony. The beings of the parallel universe reached back, their advanced technology synchronizing with human consciousness in ways they had never thought possible. Bridge stability at 60%, Maya reported, her voice tense with concentration. Quantum decay at acceptable levels. We're actually doing it. But something unexpected happened as the bridge neared completion. The quantum sensors detected more than just two universes connecting. They picked up resonance patterns from countless other realities. The bridge humanity was building had attracted the attention of other advanced civilizations across the multiverse, each one watching in astonishment as a supposedly primitive species achieved what they had thought impossible. Warning alarms blared as the quantum field expanded beyond predicted parameters. The bridge is drawing too much power, James shouted, his fingers flying over control surfaces. We're getting quantum feedback from multiple dimensional sources. Elena felt it through her connection, the weight of countless universes pressing against the boundaries of their reality. But instead of causing collapse, something miraculous happened. The human consciousness weather-adapted, incorporating the new quantum frequencies naturally. What should have torn reality apart instead created something entirely new. The field is stabilizing, Sarah reported in disbelief. But it's not just connecting to the parallel universe anymore. We're creating a quantum network across multiple realities. Through the quantum interface, messages began pouring in from civilizations humanity had never known existed. Each one had detected their bridge-building attempt, and each one expressed the same astonishment. A young species, using consciousness itself as a tool to reshape reality, had succeeded where countless advanced civilizations had failed. The beings from the original parallel universe sent one final message as their population began evacuating through the now stable quantum bridges. We asked for salvation, but found illumination instead. Your species has shown us that consciousness, emotion, and connection are not evolutionary stepping stones to be discarded, but the very forces that bind reality together. You've created more than a bridge between universes. You've forged a new understanding of existence itself. As the evacuation continued, something unprecedented occurred. The quantum network humanity had inadvertently created began to stabilize reality across multiple dimensions. The entropy cascade that had threatened the parallel universe slowed, then stopped entirely. The combined consciousness of humanity, amplified across the quantum network, had introduced a new factor into the fundamental equations of existence. 3 days later, when the last refugee had crossed the quantum bridges and the immediate crisis had passed, Elena stood before the United Nations to explain what humanity had achieved. The holographic displays behind her showed the vast network of quantum connections, now linking multiple realities, each one stabilized by human consciousness. We set out to save one universe, she began, but we've done something far more profound. We've proven that consciousness itself is a fundamental force of reality, as real and measurable as gravity or electromagnetism. Our ability to feel, to connect, to imagine beyond logical limits, these aren't weaknesses to be overcome on the path to advancement. They're essential qualities that allow us to perceive and interact with the deepest levels of reality. The quantum network humanity had created became known as the consciousness web, a testament to the power of human perception and connection. Advanced civilizations across multiple realities began studying humanity's unique qualities, learning to reintegrate emotion and imagination into their own development. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through technological advancement alone, but by showing that consciousness, empathy, and the ability to dream impossible dreams were universal forces capable of reshaping reality itself. They had started by trying to save a single universe and ended up changing how advanced beings across all realities understood existence itself. The signal that had reached Europa Station 7 2 years earlier had asked if humanity would help save a dying universe. In responding to that plea, humanity had done something far more remarkable. They had proven that the very qualities many advanced civilizations had discarded as primitive were actually the keys to transcending the boundaries between realities. As Elena looked out at the assembled representatives of Earth, she saw in their faces the same wonder she felt. Humanity had taken its first steps into a much larger existence, not as humble students of advanced civilizations, but as teachers of a profound truth. Consciousness, connection, and the courage to reach beyond possible limits were the greatest forces in any universe.